Hey, what is good, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, but hoping to be consistent henceforth. So the first video after this break is going to be a simple one about MCP Inspector, not NCP. So what does MCP Inspector do? Imagine that you have developed your MCP server. It has tools, resources, and prompts, but you want to test out the tools before you make your MCP server widely available, which is standard practice, that you test anything which you have developed. So how do you do it is Anthropic has made MCP Inspector available. You can run it or directly execute using npx. And what it does is it gives this interactive UI, which allows you to list resources, prompts, and tools. Okay? So for the purpose of this demo, we are going to build or have already built a Kubernetes MCP server. It has 4 tools to get pod logs, list deployments, list pods, and describe pods. So these are standard functionalities. Now the Kubernetes cluster is a kind cluster which I'm running. It has 2 worker nodes and 1 control plane. So what you can do is you ctl get pods and the namespace which I have is app. Let's say it has four pods running. And so basically the setup is pretty simple. We do not want to go in the nitty-gritty details of the setup because that is not the point. The point is teaching how to use MCP Inspector. So anything which you can do on Kubernetes, basically, so the list pods which I did will only describe pods. So if I do etl describe pod, if an app, and let us give it pod name. So it describes the pod, right? These are standard Kubernetes commands which any DevOps engineer or even a backend engineer does in a day-to-day work. We have bundled them together in the MCP server and we're going to test it out. So how do we test it out is MCP Inspector Python, because the file is in Python, and we execute Kubernetes mcp.py because that is the name of the file. So it is starting the MCP Inspector and it will automatically open up the UI. So this is what the UI looks like. On the left hand side, you have the transport type, the command which we ran, which is Python, and the arguments. So here, the command and the arguments. Yeah, this is what we did essentially. So the command is Python and the argument is Kubernetes MCP. Now let me connect. If I click on connect, it will open up the UI, which was similar to this one, only in dark mode because that is my system preference. You can then list resources, you can list prompts, and you can list tools. So using MCP Inspector, you can using MCP Inspector, what you can do is you can test out these tools, because these when you prompt an LLM, the resources, prompts, and tools will together be used to perform the end-to-end function. But obviously, we are not doing the end-to-end flow. We're just testing out the tools. So firstly, list pods. So by default, the namespace is, let me just move it so that you can see the entire output. This looks much better. So by default, the namespace is default because that was configured in the code somewhere. Yeah. All the namespace is default. I could just change it to app and it would work, but yeah. What I do is app and run the tool. It says tool call and notification message. So the tool result was successful app, and it shows the 4 pods which are running the app, which is similar to what we were doing here. Let me just minimize. So kubectl get pods in the namespace. So this is very similar to what we were doing. So this is similar to what we are doing. So this is now exposed as an MCP capability. Similarly, if we can describe pod. So for example, this is the pod name. Let me copy it and let me run another tool, describe pod. So the pod name is copied, and obviously let's try with the default namespace, and it says error executing tool, and it says that the pod was not found. So because obviously it is in the default namespace. I just wanted to show you the negative path, and if I run it with the correct one, it shows the details of the pod. Okay? So it has one container running, and it also shows the events. Okay? And this entire output is similar to what we have here, yeah, within the kubectl describe command. And the output is governed by this code base. Let me check. I don't think you can see it. Let me just. So the output is governed by this function describe pod. So this is how you can build an MCP server and test it using MCP Inspector. It's a very handy tool, and before you can do before you move, it's a very handy tool, and before you deploy, you can all test your entire tool calling and ensure it works correctly, and then you can have some degree of assurity that your MCP server is ready to go to production. So do try out MCP Inspector, and whenever you need to test your MCP, do use this before. So that was a quick demo of MCP Inspector. It is made available by Anthropic. The code base is also available if you want to check how it functions underneath, but very handy tool if you want to test your MCP servers before they actually go to deployment.